Hey guys, this is Kirop speaking, and today we are back in PCM 2023 with some PCM science. Because I discovered something that may be obvious to some, but certainly wasn't to me. So I thought I'd share it. Building the ultimate pro cyclist is the topic of this video, and I'm going to tell you how. There is a new mechanic in the game, which of course you've seen already and I've discussed with you, and that is the training of your pro cyclists. You have weekly training sessions, and let's take a quick look at it, shall we? Now we're here, 2nd of January. It is the time to set your training schedule. And in that training schedule, you have this system where you can set your weekly training. And there is one very important note that is hidden a little bit away from you. If you read the second to last sentence there, during progression, the higher this value, the greater the gains can be. Ominous, isn't it? Let's find out how ominous and powerful that actually is. And of course, that will imply some things for how you ought to train your pro cyclist in order to make him a true powerhouse. So how are we going to test this, you ask? Well, pretty simple, right? We are just going to make a training plan, save that one for the rider, well, not the training plan, but the rider, the save, put it into a separate folder so that we always can go back and overwrite. Run the training schedule with variations and different percentages for our progression, and then see what kinds of level ups we get. And always we have to consider that there is some random in there, so we have to have a sample size that is not equal to 1. But that should be reasonably easy because you do get several level ups without even racing. So, let's get into it. Alright, very important for this is that you actually can, within the first month, and the first month is going to be your first level up, usually. Unless you are on the hardest difficulty setting for the potential, the lowest potential, or you don't get any points from these Sire Cup races. Usually you do get at least 10 points for participating in a continental race. So you get 10 plus your monthly XP, and that is on the lowest level 35. You need 50 points to level up, so plus 10 is 45. So you would have to have one extra training here somewhere in order to get that. But as you can see, we are in the last week of January, and we do reach in our main stat 100%. If you have seen my training video on PCM 2023, you already know the basics of this. But let me quickly give you a rundown here, which also is now in the tooltips. You need a minimum of 25% in order to be able to choose this as a path of progression for stats in your level up. If you hit 75%, you can also choose to up your potential in that specific one. So, what you need to do is at least get 25%, and you have the choice. Alright, what we're going to do is compare our baseline 50% to 100%. It is important, of course, to test this on the very same rider so that we do have a fair baseline of comparison for these stats increases, because stats increases are tied to how much potential headroom you have. And at the start, of course, that headroom is quite large, especially when you're going for one of the higher potentials. In this case, I've chosen a potential of world class, the second highest. Alright, first level up, first try. We are sitting at a very comfortable 100% in a stage racer. So let's see how good our level up will be. Nope, that's a quick simulation there. And now, please, give me my level up. Hard earned. And there we have it. That is a level up. Should we do some counting, shall we? If you count, and it takes a while because usually it's not that good, this is a 28-point level up. I've never seen such a thing. This is insane. Ow. That is actually so insane that I bit my tongue while saying insane. Ouch. Alright, 28 points, usually you are quite happy with, like, what, or I was in the olden days. Like, if you had 15, that was great, alright? This is 28 points. And there we have our second level up. Now, now both time trial and stage races at 100%. This is bonkers. This is a 21 point level up. So, still quite okay, I would say. And for the time trial, that is an 18 point level up still, despite it not being our primary focus. At 100% at this point though. And no, it is not the 1st of April. We have discovered something that is making you a beast basically from Season 1. At the end of Season 1, if you have had a few level ups. But now, what I'm going to do is just to get enough data so that we can make a bit of a better prediction of what is going to happen. Because 28 seemed a little high, 21 maybe even a little bit low, but who knows? We shall find out. Interesting. So this is my first run with no training whatsoever, which means our main stat is remaining at 50%. The difference that we're seeing here is rather radical. It is just 18 points of improvement. Compare that to 28. And here we're going to see not only our next 50% level up, but also the alternate version of our time trial specialization with just 25%. If I did do that right. And turns out I didn't. So that means something very interesting. And that is also important. When you are planning your week, it is not the end point of the week or the percentages that are shown for the week that matter. It is the percentages from last week that matter. So let me just quickly clarify what I meant with the current week versus the one prior. You see the little marker over here. Let's zoom that one straight in the middle. This is our current week, and you see we are with our marker right at the end of it. Like tomorrow it's going to tick over, I believe it was. And despite what the training plan says here on the right, which seems to be bugged, because I went to 25% time trial in this specific week. And that meant that I thought I would be able to choose the specialization if I trigger it within this week. That is not the case. You need to have at least 25% the week prior. So that also means, or implies, that whatever percentage you had the week prior is actually being used for calculating your progression. And finally, I do have some results for you. So, first up, very important, leveling is not random anymore, if it ever was. Leveling is deterministic, because when I tried to level him again, as in just loaded up the game that I had put aside in a different folder, overwritten the old files and progressed a month, and 3 or 4 months, they always ended in April with the second level up, those level ups were exactly the same. Which means there is no variation anymore. There is no random bullshit involved or anything. So that makes it deterministic, and that is a good thing, in my opinion. But how does it work between the 100% level up and the 50% level up? Well, it looks like in your main attributes, you are progressing towards your maximum potential by 25% with every level up. That means you never really get there, but you can get close. So you always close the gap by 25%. You take the difference between your current stat and your maximum stat and take 25% of that difference and add it on top. That would be the 100% progression for the focus stats. Every specialization that you choose to level up in does have a certain focus for each stat. Like 100% progression equivalent, or much less, sometimes 0, as we see here in sprinting for it's probably not 0, but very small, for the stage racing. And 25% moves you a fair amount right at the start. But the second level up was also quite powerful, and we saw, again, sometimes was there? Yeah, even larger moves, because we can only move by integer values. Integer values, of course, in the background, the game is calculating with non-integers, like float values, and thus you see some variation in there, but I'm pretty sure under the hood everything is worked out in floats, and then it's just rounded off, and that is the stat that actually counts then towards the actual performance of the rider. The 50% progression ended up at an average increase of 8%. And the focused ones were around, what would the average be here? Like 16, 17, 18%? 18% roughly. And that, or 17.5. So that's quite a bit weaker. Quite a bit weaker. But it's not 50% of the other increases. It is a little bit better than this. And how much better, you ask? Well, from the very limited data that I have here, it looks like it is it's a power to 2/3 progression. So it is like sloping in the other direction. It is a little bit of a bent curve going like this. So if you're at 50%, you're not getting just 50%, but a little bit more. 62% to be precise here. That is not precise whatsoever, though, because it's based on such a limited sample size. And I did not try out 25%. So if you want to do that, you're welcome. I'm not going to do that right now. And why not? Well, because it doesn't really matter. Why would you want to progress at 25% if you can always progress at 100%? But now, let's get back to the practicalities of it, right? You did see me get to 100% for the very first level up. So it is entirely possible to always level at 100% or right thereabouts. And that means you get very, very quick progression in this zone. Roughly 25% for those focused stats. If there indeed is this kind of constant fraction progression implemented in the game, then that would mean, as you see in my little example table here, that with this 23% progression that we have, or 23.5 as it was about average for the 100% progression for the main stats, is that you would see within 5 level ups with stats, this rider would have an 81 mountain stat. Well, or thereabouts, because I don't have that accuracy in my super simple modeling that I'm doing here right now. But this seems extremely powerful. What does that tell you about how you should build your Pro Cyclist? Well, first of all, it means that increasing your potential no longer is a no-no, because previously you were pretty much wasting a level up. But this is quite powerful. Now, if you are basically upgrading yourself in potential in a category where you have significant weaknesses, for instance the stage racer, you could upgrade in, let's say, as a puncher, or as a sprinter, or maybe even better, as a baroudeur. And then you can practice something that has a bit of focus on, or get that up to 100%, a bit of focus on flat, and there you would advance with also 20-ish% towards your maximum potential. And all of a sudden, you're a very capable rider after like 2 more level ups after that. And then you're at level 10 and you're like beefed up like crazy. So, I hope this gives you a general picture of what you now can do in Pro Cyclist Mode. And I'm a bit flabbergasted. I mean, this basically means that after Season 1, you can be an absolute powerhouse, either super specialized or starting to become a jack of all trades. Awesome. So what do we conclude from this all? Well, if I catch a single one of you who upgrades their rider with a non-100% level up, I'm going to come by your door and knock on it and hand you a Speckbar, right? Or currywurst. You choose. Because overall, let's put it into a final picture. With just 2 level ups, we made this little rider become that thing. like, what? It's completely mind-blowing. Alright, I hope you're going to even more enjoy Pro Cyclist Mode with some more tinkering that involves potential increases and so on. Hope you enjoyed and found this helpful. If you did, please leave a like, and of course check out my Dicky McSpeck series, and as well as my Cyclist Tactics series, where we specialize on Grand Tours. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed, and see you guys next time.